the Florida Panthers, they are the cream of the crop right now. It's so crazy to think of. I saw a Panthers fan post a video. Do you remember? I would have been 2023. The reason that they got into the playoffs was because the Pittsburgh Penguins lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. Imagine how different the league would look right now. And maybe they would have missed for only one season and then go right in and win the next year. But imagine how different the NHL looks if the Pittsburgh Penguins held off the Chicago Blackhawks that game and inserted themselves in the playoffs instead of the Florida Panthers.
It's an absolutely crazy thought experiment. Yeah, just because even like you said, like if the Panthers still become the Panthers the very next year, everything else for whatever reason stays in place, which I don't think it would be. We're gonna do the crazy experiment though. Like if you look at just that year, I mean, not to be all center of the universe, but the Maple Leafs path looks a little bit different that year too. Who knows? Like maybe it is the Bruins and their crazy record, or wherever I guess it would have been Pittsburgh in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if Pittsburgh would have beat the Bruins there if they couldn't beat the Blackhawks in that one game. But yeah, like it is really, really, really crazy to think about. It's just as crazy to me that we have back-to-back three-peat finalists out of the same division, out of the same state. Like it is. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And just like comparing, contrasting the two, I don't know, which one would you say is the more impressive team? Because I'm kind of leaning, and this is obviously before we see the result of the final, and maybe it's recency bias, but this Florida team, it's just so cohesive. It's been dominant. It's been dominant.
I'm going to lean Florida. For as much as everybody wanted to talk, I'm still gonna hold Tampa in high regard, but I think it would also it would kind of be remiss to also mention their 2020 Cup. How much traveling did they really have to do? Because that was the COVID bubble cup where everybody's stuck in two cities, right? So it's not Tampa. They played Columbus that year. They had to play the Islanders that year. Who did they play in the second round?
In the bubble. Wasn't it the Panthers? No, you're saying, wasn't it the Panthers?
Could have been. Who knows?
Yeah.
Regardless, you're not traveling. You're staying in one city, right? Until you get to the finals, where then you just have to go to another city, but you're still staying in that city.
Yeah, it was Toronto and Edmonton were the two bubble spots.
Right? So this Florida Panthers team, we saw all the talk last year. Florida and Edmonton are it's the farthest traveled in terms of man miles between two Cup finalist teams, right? That is not easy either. I take travel into account. I take not playing in front of the fans. I don't know if it has that great of an effect, but I'm going to take different things into account from those 3 years, because they kind of got those Tampa Bay Lightning teams got the full effects of everything, because when they lost in the Cup Finals, it was as close to being a regular Cup final as it was the previous 2 years. So they got to go through everything. This Florida Panthers team, on top of being just a well-oiled wagon, which I think at that point the Lightning were the well-oiled wagon, and some moves that were necessary kind of dismantled a core part of that team. A lot of their depth of that team kind of had to get gutted because guys were looking for new deals. Maybe we kind of start to see the same now with the Panthers going forward. I don't know, because they're in a great position to even just keep it rolling. Even if they lose this year, they're in a great position to just go right back next year. That's how ridiculous this team is.
And how many times, at least in the playoffs, we don't really do the fatigue talk with the Florida Panthers. We did it this year in the regular season, and they shut us up real quick. Even with Edmonton, this is one of the talking points that's been bandied about just in general. It's just some teams especially with the experience of getting this far in the playoffs, they really do know how to keep the switch off in the regular season, but immediately turn it off in the playoffs. And
Yeah.
I really do think that with the travel talk, like you can conserve some of your energy for when it really matters. The Florida Panthers did not give a crap what seeding they ended up with, right? Like if throwback to when we were like the Panthers are they're tanking to face the Leafs in the first round. I mean,
I thought it was true. I was
it
like,
didn't
oh my
matter
God,
if
these
it was
guys,
first, second, whatever, right? So
they were inevitable
no.
for the Leafs.
Yeah. So that didn't matter. Same for the Oilers with another tough start. They didn't get a crazy McDavid year. It was Leon Draisaitl. It just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And yeah, the Panthers have just been, as much as we hate them. Like I was gonna say respectfully hate them. Maybe half respectfully hate them. Half respectfully, because goddamn are they a hateable team.
Yeah, I was
Listen,
gonna
man,
say,
yeah, it's
in terms of Leafs most like the most hated rivals, at least two teams that I could think of that have had a prolonged period of success during like the years that we've been watching. I'm gonna leave the Habs out of this, but between the Bruins and between the Panthers, who do you hate more?
I am going to still go Bruins because it spans multiple eras of the Leafs.
Okay,
Right? You
fair.
have the Kessel Fanoff era, right? You got that one, which that's like, as for me, like, and for you too, I'm sure, like that is your first true Leaf heartbreak.
Yeah,
We had just heard the tales of the playoffs. We didn't know what those were until we got to experience it for ourselves, and
that was also the
right?
start of the heart because the heartbreak before meant losing in Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. It wasn't losing a 4-1 lead in the first round.
Yeah, but like, do you
Bruins.
remember those? I don't remember.
No, that's what I mean.
Right?
Like hearing
Yeah.
those tales were like,
Yes.
it was like they were going into the third
You
round.
would love that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would kill for that right now.
I'm getting stories about, if it wasn't for Wayne Gretzky's high stick, then right, like
in Game 7 of the conference final.
man, if it wasn't for Matt Fradden not being able to get the hat trick, like that's our freaking that's what
that's
we're
our
saying.
what-if.
Yeah. So
That's our
anyways,
what-if.
there's that. And then yeah, like you also, like the Bruins, god damn it, beat us 3 times in the Matthews era. They beat us when you were still full of some hope, right? Like you're like, the Matthews, like these guys are so young. You know, Babcock's he's gonna pull a Dave Leo. He's gonna take a trip to Arizona. He is gonna meet Austin Matthews. He's gonna talk with him. And things will be fine. Yeah, yeah. Right?
I forgot that was a thing.
It was. And then they beat us as recently as last year when we thought that this is it. Like after we finally let go of the demons, win around, and then didn't matter. So they've had our numbers in all different kinds of ways. And like I said, as much as the Panthers, yeah, they've taken care of us twice here in the past 3 years. There's something especially heartbreaking about the way the Bruins have done it so consistently. Cough, cough, Brad
100%.
Marchand is maybe the constant there
Well,
between both
there
of them.
is a common denominator between both teams. Speaking of Brad Marchand, man, what a resurgent playoff he's had. Like it,
It's another guy. He turned on the switch.
Yeah, especially last year where I know did he have an OT winner against us in the playoffs? Or I know he scored a backbreaking goal. I remember that, but it was like I think his only goal in that series against the Leafs.
No, he was not like.
It didn't look like Brad Marchand, I would say, last year.
Yeah.
And even at points this year, like when we played them in the regular season against Boston, it didn't look like the same Brad Marchand. So I think a lot of people had some reservations about him because they're like, he's getting up there in age. His body is starting to break down. What can this guy bring to an already deep Florida Panthers lineup? And guess what he's brought? He's brought a wealth of veteran
Rats.
leadership and a whole host of rats.
Yeah.
I hate him. I really do. But I can't help but just be like, I mutually respect hate him. Like that's where I'll end off my Brad Marchand tag. I don't want to gush about him too much because it might make me a little bit sick. But man, oh man, he's had one heck of a what maybe one of his last playoff runs, could be one of his last deep runs. Who knows?
Yeah. We talked about it after the Leaf series ended about what if Brad Marchand was a Leaf? What if the Leaf fan did this? And I still stick with my take. And I mean, clip this and send it back to me when, God forbid, it happens. But like, if Brad signed with us and we won the thing, it would not be the Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cup. It would be the Brad Marchand Stanley Cup. I would, even if he never said it, in my mind, I would tell myself that it was an inside job by Brad Marchand to join the Leafs, win the cup with them, just so he can say these idiots couldn't have done it without me. I'm the only reason. That's how it is.
Listen.
The ultimate bow down to Brad Marchand as owner of this franchise. Like, we would have to have, could you imagine, because you already know, like, if we did the thing with Brad Marchand, the entire roster's numbers would be retired at that point.
Statues for everybody. Statues
like,
lining Front
Legends
Street.
Row 2, and it's just the team that does the thing,
That
right?
does
So
it, yeah.
I'm still here telling myself I do not want to see him. I do not want to live in this timeline that I just described, Dave.
See, I was gonna say like, if that sentiment applies to the Panthers, but they've won the thing, so I guess it really doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the Panthers though, they like I would say probably as close to like a master class in taking down an opponent against the like from what I saw. So I wasn't watching live, but from what I saw, it frankly didn't even look close in like four of the 5 games, like except for the game that they lost.
Yeah. And that was a back up against the wall, like throw everything you've got left. It was a pride game. We're still talking about the Hurricanes having not won an Eastern Conference Finals game in what, more than or not more than 2 decades, but close to it.
It's about
right?
2 decades, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what that was. Like I said, they dismantled them, and it was just the juxtaposition of the two play styles in terms of like they made Carolina look tiny. They manhandled, they bullied them, had all their usual antics that you expect from the Florida Panthers, but playing a heavy game. And it's not like Carolina can't play, like their whole thing is a aggressive forecheck, and it should be things that lean into also playing the body and being physical, like aggressive in just like their mentality, not just their structure. And it didn't have it was too little too late, because they did finally show it in the final 2 games of the series, and in one of them they were able to get a win, and in game 5 it just fell apart. So it is credit to Florida, because I don't know how many teams could make it look that easy, but they did. That's how they earned that spot.
Sorry, I'm just reading something here that when Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals gets underway, the Florida Panthers will break the record for the most games played in a 3-season span all time. So the record right now is 308. Game 2 will be game 309. The only other 2 teams to get up to 308 are the Dallas Stars between 97-98 and 99-2000, and then the Detroit Red Wings in 2006-07 to 2008-09. Coincidentally, I believe Dallas made the finals 2 of those 3 seasons in those years, and so did Detroit. So it makes sense. You know, you go to 3 straight Cup Finals, you're gonna be playing a lot of games. A lot of hockey being played. Other than that, I saw some stuff after between Rod Brindamore and Paul Maurice, and the handshake line. Paul Maurice, he's saying that the handshake line should be reserved for players only, and he wasn't going to go down the line and shake the hands of the other team. Hey, Paul, get round 1 and round 2. I think you went down the line.
So not round 2. He didn't do it against
just
the
round
Leafs.
1?
But round 1 he did. So he had change of heart after round 1, and after however many years he's been doing it.
Yeah. So what changed?
Okay, so there's another superstition that we'll talk about as well, which is the touching of the Clarence Campbell.
The Bulls.
Both of the Bulls, right? You just started, like, I think it was Lindros, apparently. I'll pull it up after. It's Lindros who started this this trend, and I'd have to look to see if I'm assuming it was his first time that he had the opportunity to do it, so at least it's not like he broke his own trend, but like it just happened. Like you start a trend and it's stuck for whatever reason. I actually don't hate Paul Maurice for, like, it's possible for Paul Maurice to start his NHL career and get into a couple playoff series, do the handshake line, and have a thought to himself, why am I doing this? Like, do they really, like, should I be here? Like, this should just be for the players. But he kept doing it. He kept doing it until he won a cup, because I think you have a lot more cachet making that choice now. Would you imagine if Paul tried this with
after
the
losing
Jets
a final?
in like 20... Yeah, after losing the final, just like with the Jets in 2018 or whatever, it would come off. And I think a lot of people already think that Paul Maurice is a pretty pompous guy that, you know, loves the camera, loves to be in it. He's got a joke ready 100%. For every media conference. That's fair. Like he is that.
That would take his character to like a new level.
Yeah, it would be too much. But I think to himself, he might have said, I have this thought. I can't do it as a coach who hasn't won a Stanley Cup. Now, for whatever reason, he's decided, you know what, why not? I'll start this, and people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And the problem is, what made it so awkward is, for whatever reason, just Rod didn't know that this was coming, right? Because if he had seen any type of media after the Leafs Panthers series, maybe he would have known that Paul didn't shake hands, and I think he addressed it after, whether it was like post game or just after the series. Like if Rod had knowledge that that's what Paul Maurice is starting to do, it's just a lot less awkward. They had to do that right after the series ends, with Rod saying, like, why aren't you in the line? And
right on the ice too.
Yeah,
like,
so
in front of
it
everybody.
just became really awkward. I almost like I don't even know if I'm blaming Rod as much as it's like maybe just like the PR staff should have got that to him maybe a little bit earlier, right? Because it's not even like if you win, like it's no matter if you win or lose, you have to have a handshake line at some point in the series. So it's not like they had to hide it from him until they were maybe in a clincher or something. I don't know. I think it was just awkward. I actually don't blame Paul too much for doing
I don't know.
this.
I feel like that's just such a weird thing to like bring up. Like, hey, if you lose, Paul's not going to be on the ice, so don't freak out about it. Like,
but it's also, hey, if you win, Paul's not on the
going
ice,
to be
right?
there either, right?
So it doesn't matter.
I feel like that's just a weird conversation to like bring up. I've heard in the past, I think there was like there's an agreed upon thing. There was maybe in the past. I don't know. I feel like
yeah, apparently Paul and Craig Berube agreed to it before the series, or very early in the series, and then I don't know why it didn't happen this time around. So once again, to me, it wasn't even like disrespectful or whatever. I just think it was awkward. Like, just awkward. That's
100%.